Hi everyone, and welcome to the presentation of our paper entitled Sharing Earthquake Narratives, Making Space for Others in Our Autobiographical Design Process. I am Claudia Núñez-Pacheco, and I'm also presenting on behalf of my colleague Emma Frid. This presentation talks about earthquakes. In our work, we intentionally escape from the usually catastrophic view media portrays them. Instead, we describe them as everyday quotidian experiences happening to real people in some areas of the world. Believe it or not, in some places people feel them all the time. Before describing our narratives, we need to acknowledge a few things. The protagonists of the real stories we depict in this presentation are, in some ways, fortunate. Earthquakes can be harmless when mild, but also destructive and life-threatening in many cases. This is a story with two characters, myself, the first author of this paper, and my partner, Paul. This is not his real name, but he playfully prefers to keep it like this. We carry thousands of earthquakes in our bodies, and we have forgotten the majority of them, but not all of them. In this work, we describe mild earthquakes as a path to promote empathy, but getting closer to a potentially relatable event. We believe that many tend to discard what they consider too removed. By presenting the quotidian side of earthquakes, we hope to amplify human voices amidst destructiveness and powerlessness. This paper offers two concrete contributions. So first, 3 strategies for bringing others into our autobiographical design processes, avoiding the dilution of first-person voices while critically addressing design flaws that might hinder the representation of our stories. And a concrete example, making visible the emotion work of others involved in our autobiographical design research. Here, we show an autobiographical design process where the resulting prototype was evaluated by users. The strategies we present here are useful to navigate the tensions between the feedback that needs to be incorporated in order to make the installation credible and the values that need to be protected to preserve the integrity of our stories. But also, this paper touches upon a series of topics of interest for interaction design, such as autobiographical research as distributed rather than something solely concerning the individual, reverse culture shock, empathy, foreignness, bodies shaped by geographies and culture, articulation and storytelling, childhood dreams and learnings, bodily discomfort, care as affection, and care as chore. Why sharing earthquake narratives? What motivated us to pursue this research? Paul and I lived abroad for many years. After finishing my PhD, we returned to my country for 2 years. The process of reverse culture shock was pretty evident for us. We were not used to the expectations that our culture places in people, as we lived by ourselves, the two of us, free from judgment, for a long time. Being a foreigner is not always nice, but sometimes it's just liberating. The following story is about the embodied nature of our cultural shock. This shock became palpable, however, as I found myself in the middle of an earth tremor while I was working from home. Here, it is important to make a distinction. A tremor is a minor earth movement that normally would not have disturbed my mood, as I was used to them since I was a kid. But when things started shaking that day, I felt a surge of sudden terror expanding from my chest towards the rest of my body, as if my heart was filled with hot poison. I quickly realized that this was the first one I had felt in years of absence. Speaking with my partner later that day, he described a similar situation where the movement triggered in him a series of concerns that have remained buried for years. We arrive at the conclusion that our connection between the land and our bodies was not longer familiar. To collect our stories, I conducted 1 year of microphenomenological interviews with Paul. We also used focusing, body maps, and annotations. We explored many earth tremors, but in the paper, we describe 5 particularly meaningful ones. We lived some of them during our childhood, and others later together. They varied in intensity and experiential qualities. As a result of our exploration, we generated a series of narratives. We describe 3 in the paper. By re-listening and transcribing our interviews and conversations, it became evident that the qualities of care and responsibility repeatedly surfaced in the majority of Paul's interviews. These qualities motivated us to use a narrative, "I became the mirror," which we use as part of our tremor prototype. Instead of strongly focusing on replicating the strength of movement qualities from earthquakes, convincingly represented through simulator rooms already, we decided to deliver an experience where others could personally connect at the personal level with the story, yet prompted by subtle vibrations. This prototype uses haptic actuators, which might translate audio signals such as rumbling sounds. On a different sound channel, the participant could listen to the narrative. We tested out this setup with 7 participants with different levels of experience with earthquakes. Our testing room used dimmed light to promote immersion. Participants took part in microphenomenological interviews, where we asked them to recollect a meaningful aspect of their interaction with the piece. Let's have a brief look at the results, which are further expanded in the paper. So first, the narrative served as a tool for the audience to adopt a clear positioning about their own seismic cultures. And sharing our earthquake narratives made us aware of our differences, crystallizing aspects we wanted to transmit: calmness, care, and stoicism. Qualities that were important for us, in some cases, did not resonate with others, and that is fine. The question is, how do we distinguish then the changes we need to incorporate for future iterations from values and qualities we want to protect? We then offer 3 strategies to involve others in our process. So strategy 1 is to bring the designer's stories and motivation back into the process. This way, making sure to put our values at the center, protecting the integrity of our stories. The strategy 2 is designing for credibility within a space of diversity. Designing for a diversity of perspectives does not mean free of rules. We should make sure that formal aspects of our designs do not come across as inauthentic. And in the paper we provided some specific examples of perceived inauthenticity. And finally, strategy 3, we have to grant some extra space for sense-making, especially when the body is involved. It needs time to feel and immerse itself before receiving new information. This finalizes our presentation. Thanks very much for listening.